Hey guys, welcome to Xbox On. So do you know characters from those video games who are super suspicious and definitely have something to hide?
Yeah,
Let's take a look.
I'm not hiding anything.
LA Noire tells of a city populated by the world's most unconvincing criminals. In this game, you play a 1940s detective who basically has to go around and unravel loads of illegal activities ranging from minor traffic misdemeanors to 100% murder. And to do that, you'll interview shifty citizens whose idea of a believable lie is looking nervously from side to side and sweating a lot. Their mouth says, "I definitely didn't murder that guy," but their eyes say, "Lock me up immediately." Generally, you have to read facial cues and then either press the button for truth, lie, or doubt. But when the suspect is glancing off to the side like a guilty dog who's just been caught biting a hole in the curtains, it's difficult to do anything but see right through them. All this deception is enough to make you want to shout directly in their face. Cole Phelps is both good cop, bad cop, and medium cop. So he's basically the ultimate cop.
Bruce Wayne has hands down the worst disguise since Superman put on a pair of glasses and tried to pass himself off as a normal dude. Like, look at that jawline and those shoulders. How can this guy not be Batman? It's like no one in Gotham is the slightest bit curious what's under the cowl. So, let's make a Bruce Wayne checklist. Literal billionaire with money to fund loads of fancy gadgets. Check. Exact same height and build and voice as Batman. Check. Strangely absent whenever Batman shows up. Check. Not at all suspicious. I subscribe to the theory that everyone is merely pretending not to know Bruce Wayne is Batman just to feed his ego. Then, when Bruce walks off, they all just roll their eyes. Of the two explanations, this is the most plausible.
The Mimic from Dark Souls is the most tricksy monster in the entire game. And that's really saying something when monsters in this game feature dancing sorcerers, demonic foliage, and frog things that can turn you to stone. That's because the Mimic is hiding something. It disguises itself as a wooden treasure chest to tempt you over so it can suddenly turn into its true form, which is basically the same chest, but with legs and teeth. There's a sneaky way to tell a real chest from a mimic chest, however, and that's by looking at its chain. If the chain curls up like a horseshoe, it's real. If it's pointing towards you, it's a mimic. So with that key bit of info, the mimic goes from something impossible to see coming to something you can spot a mile off. Not today, mimic. I like my head where it is, thanks.
Now onto Eliza Cassan from Deus Ex, the newsreader who says words weirdly, so there's already something not quite right there. Eliza is the face of Picus TV in 2027, delivering news all day and night, yet she's still got time to be embroiled in a conspiracy involving a terrorist attack on a factory that makes artificial body parts. When Deus Ex protagonist Adam Jensen goes to confront her, he discovers she's actually an elaborate hologram. But Eliza's story gets weirder than that. In trying to find the source of the hologram, Jensen finds out that Eliza is the world's most sophisticated AI. So the Eliza that he met was a hologram of an artificial intelligence. There are levels to this. It turns out that, unlike the fashionable news anchor she appears, Eliza was created for the purpose of controlling public information, so the shady individuals behind her can manipulate social discourse. The Deus Ex developers did drop a few clues in there to hint that she's not real though. For example, her outfits feature pink, a colour not seen anywhere else in the game. Also, the first room that Jensen looks for Cassan in is room 404, a reference to the file not found error code. Well, when you look at it that way, it's almost obvious. You can bet that anyone with a big, luxurious office has screwed someone over to get it. And the Illusive Man from Mass Effect 2's is so fancy that he's probably double-crossed everyone on Earth. It's literally got a viewing window out onto the sun. There's definitely some underhanded stuff going down here. Take the fact that the Illusive Man is always sitting down and smoking like an old school James Bond villain. Also, his name is the Illusive Man. He might as well be called Mr. Suspicious, because there's something about this Mr. Suspicious that I just don't trust. The Illusive Man founded morally murky human first group Cerberus with the aim being to advance humanity by any means necessary. He doesn't just dip into the ethically grey area from time to time, he practically lives there, doing things like bringing Commander Shepard back from the dead and ordering him on a suicide mission. In Mass Effect 3, the Illusive Man allows himself to be implanted with Reaper nanotechnology to give him powers. That's the last time I trust the strangest man in the galaxy. From one weird guy to another, the G-Man might actually have an even weirder backstory than the Illusive Man. This smartly dressed dude shows up in the opening cutscene of Half-Life 2 to deliver a strangely phased monologue, and throughout the game, he can be seen watching you from several out-of-reach areas. He's clearly got some sort of personal investment in your quest, either that or just really fancies you. You can see him in the distance, sometimes on balconies and ledges, just silently staring for some unknown reason before slowly walking off, potentially to write about you in his diary or something like that. But whatever G-Man's reasons for all the pursuing, he's definitely not normal. For instance, he can stop time and transport you in and out of consciousness, like here at the end of Half-Life 2. So while the G-Man may look like a pasty politician, I reckon he's more of an interdimensional stalker who's working up the courage to ask you out.
Andrew Ryan is famous for two things: his wild ambition and his perfect moustache. But it's the former which is responsible for the deaths of thousands. Ryan single-handedly built a vast city under the sea to get away from the interfering government. Well, I say single-handedly, it's more like he got a load of workers to do it and then took all the credit, which is in keeping with the tradition set by many a megalomaniac businessman before him. You first hear Ryan through a speaker as you're en route to his city of Rapture, and he comes across sort of like a Walt Disney figure, only one that says vaguely disturbing things like, "This is a place where the scientists would not be bound by petty morality." Yeah, soon enough you get the feeling Andrew Ryan didn't just build this place as an elaborate man cave, but as a place to test the very limits of humanity. A few minutes later, there's a civil war and people are shooting flames from their hands. And this smart man in a suit is revealed to be a bit of a loose cannon. This list is kind of teaching me to never trust a man in a suit. Nope.
Next on our list is the most normal dad you could ever find on land or at sea. Just a normal stretchy dad who definitely isn't an octopus. Well, that's what Octodad wants you to think anyway. And look, he's wearing clothes and everything. In 2015's Octodad Deadliest Catch, old Daddy Octo must engage in a variety of human pursuits to fool his family that he's in fact not a bright orange octopus who very likely smells of scallops. His wife and kids are a surprisingly trusty bunch, failing to get even the slightest bit suspicious when he's stuffing his tentacles into a suit and is dragging himself down the aisle at a wedding, flinging coffee dangerously around the kitchen, or mowing the lawn in the most unconventional way imaginable. Nope, there's nothing weird going on here. Nothing at all.
Now here's a guy who's got a big secret in that beautiful blonde head of his. We first encounter Albert Wesker in the first Resident Evil. An action hero type, he leads the Alpha team, aka Jill and Chris, the protagonists of the game. Then everything starts going a bit wrong, and when I say a bit wrong, I mean flesh-hungry zombies and murderous dogs that definitely do not earn the term good doggo. Wesker leaves to go do important Alpha Team leader stuff, but it's not until you meet him again in the laboratory down the stairs that it turns out he hasn't been off zombie killing, but rather planning to use a humanoid super soldier to kill the remaining STARS members, and oh, he also works for the bad guys. Wesker, you devil. If anything, Resident Evil teaches you to never trust your colleagues because they might try and kill you. Benny, I'm watching you. GLaDOS, or as she's known as by her closest friends, Genetic Life Form and Disk Operating System, has a complicated personality considering she's a robot. In Portal, she starts off as a calming, helpful voice, but it soon becomes clear that sounds can be deceiving. As you progress through your Portal puzzly adventure, you'll notice her start to take a bit of a turn for the worst. You know how it is, a little bit sarcastic at first, and then before you know it, you've got a fully fledged homicidal robot on your hands. That old classic. As it turns out, in a completely unsurprising twist of fate, GLaDOS is a bit of a nightmare and tries to lead you to your death. Seriously, they warned us about robots and the uprising in so many action movies. How did we not see this coming? She's certainly got plenty to hide, but she covers it up pretty well by seemingly leading you from room to room. It's when she leads you to a room which safely operates up to 4,000 degrees that her intentions really become clear. Oh well, at least she promises you cake, I guess. What do you mean it was all a lie?
So those were some shifty characters that definitely didn't have anything to hide. Make sure to let us know what your favourite was down in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel if you're new by hitting that subscribe button. Yeah.
And make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.